Donald and Douglas are twins and had arrived from Scotland to help Sir Topham Hatt, but only one engine had been expected. The twins meant well, but did cause confusion. Sir Topham Hatt had given them numbers, Donald 9 and Douglas 10, but he was still planning to send one engine home. There was a brake van in the yard that had taken a dislike to Douglas. Things always went wrong when he had to take it out. His trains were late, and he was blamed. Douglas began to worry. Donald, his twin, was angry.
"You're a muckle nuisance," said Donald. "It's to leave you behind I be wanting."
"You can't," said the brake van. "I'm essential."
"Ah, are you?" Donald burst out. "You're nothing but a screeching and a noise when all's said and done. Spite doggy, would you? Take that!" "Oh! Oh!" cried the van. "There's more coming should you misbehave."
The van behaved better after that. Until one day, Donald had an accident. The rails were slippery. He couldn't stop in time. Donald wasn't hurt, but Sir Topham Hatt was most annoyed.
"I am disappointed, Donald. I didn't expect such clumsiness from you. I had decided to send Douglas back and keep you." "I'm sorry, sir," said Donald. "I should think so, too. You have upset my arrangements. Now, James will have to help with the goods work while you have your tender mended. James won't like that."
Sir Topham Hatt was right. James grumbled dreadfully about extra work.
"Anyone would think," said Douglas, "that Donald had had his accident on purpose. I heard tell about an engine and some tar wagons."
"Shut up," said James. "It's not funny." He didn't like to be reminded of his own accident.
"Well, well, well. Surely, James, it wasn't you. You didn't say."
James didn't say. He slouched sulkily away.
"James is cross," snickered the spiteful brake van. "We'll try to make him crosser still."
"Hold back," giggled the freight cars to each other. James did his best, but he was exhausted when they reached Edward's station. Luckily, Douglas was there.
"Help me up the hill, please," panted James. "These freight cars are playing tricks." "We'll show them," said Douglas.
Slowly but surely, the snorting engines forced the freight cars up the hill. But James was losing steam.
"I can't do it! I can't do it!" "Leave it to me!" shouted Douglas.
The conductor was anxious.
"Go steady! The van's breaking!"
The van was in pieces. No one had been hurt, and soon Edward came to clear the mess. Sir Topham Hatt was on board.
"I might have known it would be Douglas," he said.
"Douglas was grand, sir," said Edward. "James had no steam left, but Douglas worked hard enough for 3. I heard him from my yard."
"2 would have been enough," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I want to be fair, Douglas, but I don't know. I really don't know."
Sir Topham Hatt was making up his mind about which engine to send away, but that's another story. Percy and Toby were worried. Thomas's recent accident had caused a great deal of trouble, and Sir Topham Hatt was waiting for them with important news.
Here is Daisy, the diesel rail car, who has come to help while Thomas is indisposed.
Please, sir, will she go when Thomas comes back, sir?
That depends, said Sir Topham Hatt. Meanwhile, however long she stays, I hope you will both make her welcome and comfortable.
Yes, sir, we'll try, sir, said the engines.
Good. Run along now and show her the shed. She will want to rest after her journey.
Daisy was not easy to please. She shuddered at the engine shed. This is dreadfully smelly. I'm highly sprung, and anything smelly is bad for my swerves. Next, they tried the carriage shed. This is better, said Daisy, but whatever is that rubbish? The rubbish turned out to be Annie, Clarabelle, and Henrietta, who were most offended.
We won't stay here to be insulted,
they fumed. Percy and Toby had to take them away and spend half the night soothing their hurt feelings. The engines woke next morning feeling exhausted. Daisy, on the other hand, felt bright and cheerful. Woo, woo, she tooted as she came out of the yard and back to the station. Look at me, she purred to the passengers. I'm the latest diesel, highly sprung and right up to date. You won't want Thomas's bumpy old Annie and Clarabelle now. The passengers waited for Daisy to start, but she didn't. She saw that a milk van was about to be coupled to her and was most indignant. Do they expect me to pull that?
Surely, said her driver, you can pull one van.
I won't, said Daisy. Percy can do it. He loves messing about with freight cars. She began to shudder violently.
Nonsense, said her driver. Come on now, back down.
Daisy lurched backwards. She was so cross that she blew a fuse. Told you, she said, and stopped. Everyone argued with her, but it was no use. It's fitter's orders, she said.
What is?
My fitter's a very nice man. He comes every week and examines me carefully. Daisy, he says, never, never pull. You're highly sprung, and pulling is bad for your swerves. So that's how it is, finished Daisy.
Stuff and nonsense, said the station master. I can't understand, said the shunter. Whatever made Sir Topham Hatt send us such a feeble...
Feeble? Feeble? Spluttered Daisy. Let me... Stop arguing, grumbled the passengers. We're late already. So they uncoupled the van, and Daisy purred away, feeling very pleased with herself. She could now enjoy her journey. That's a good story, she chuckled. I'll do just what work I choose and no more. But she said it to herself. Mavis is a diesel engine who works for the quarry company shunting freight cars in their sidings. She has 6 small wheels hidden by side plates just like Toby's. Mavis is young and full of her own ideas. She loves rearranging things too and began putting Toby's cars in different places every day. This made Toby cross. Freight cars, he grumbled, should be where you want them, when you want them. Fiddlesticks, said Mavis and flounced away. At last, Toby lost patience. I can't waste time playing hunt the cars with you. Take them yourself. Mavis was pleased. Taking cars made her feel important. At the station, Diesel oiled up to her. Toby's an old fusspot, she complained. Diesel sensed trouble and was delighted. Toby says only steam engines can manage freight cars, continued Mavis. How absurd, squirmed Diesel. Depend upon it, Mavis. Anything steam engines can do, we diesels can do better. Diesel knew nothing about cars, but Mavis didn't realize this. Toby's line crosses the main road behind the station and for a short way follows a farm lane. Frosty weather makes the muddy lane rock hard and very slippery. Toby stops before reaching the lane. His fireman halts the traffic at the crossing, and then he sets off again. By using the heavy cars to push him along, he has no trouble with the frosty rails in the lane and across the road. It is the only safe thing to do in this kind of weather. Toby warned Mavis and told her just what to do. I can manage, thank you, she replied. I'm not an old fusspot like you. The freight cars were tired of being pushed around by Mavis. It's slippery, they whispered. Let's push her around instead. On, they yelled. Mavis took no notice. Instead, she brought the cars carefully down the lane and stopped at the level crossing. All traffic halted. One in the headlamp for fusspot Toby, chortled Mavis. But Mavis had stopped in the wrong place. Instead of taking Toby's advice, she had given the cars the chance they wanted. Hold back, they cried. Grrr up, ordered Mavis. The cars just laughed and her wheels spun helplessly. Workmen sanded the rails and tried to dig away the frozen mud, but it was no good. Everyone was impatient. Grrr, wailed Mavis. Toby was in the yard when he heard the news. I warned her, he fumed. She's young yet, soothed his driver, and she can manage her cars herself, interrupted Toby. They're your cars, really, his driver replied. Mavis is supposed to stay at the quarry. If Sir Topham Hatt finds out... yes, said Toby thoughtfully. He and his driver agreed that it would be best to help Mavis after all. An angry farmer was telling Mavis just what she could do with her train. Having trouble, Mavis? Chortled Toby. I am surprised. Grosh, said Mavis. With much puffing and wheel slip, Toby pushed Mavis and the freight cars back. The hard work made his fire burn fiercely, and his firemen spread hot cinders to melt the frozen mud. At last, they finished. Goodbye, called Toby. You'll manage now, I expect. Mavis didn't answer. She took the cars to the sheds and scuttled home to the quarry as quickly as she could.